And welcome back once again to another episode of 412 Press Coverage Podcast. This is the 10th episode. Sorry for a bit of a hiatus from the podcast, but we're back. We witnessed some pretty interesting things happen in the sports world over the last 3 weeks. Most notably, the Kansas City Chiefs defeated the Philadelphia Eagles yesterday to win the Super Bowl. It was a great game, a lot of offense, a lot of touchdowns, quite the controversial ending. And we saw some trades in the NBA. The Lakers retooled their roster. They finally traded Russ. Took them maybe over a year late, but they finally did it. And Kevin Durant, once again, to try to beat LeBron's teams, now formed another super team, this time in Phoenix with the Suns. But we'll get to that in a minute. We'll start off with the Super Bowl and then just J-Rod, what's your initial reaction to the game? What did you think of it? And we could talk about the penalty call in a little bit, but let's start off with your initial
Um,
thoughts of the game in general.
I think my initial thoughts is it was a really good offensive game. That's what everyone likes to see. Straight offense, no defense. I think the only thing I didn't like about it was as you look back at the game, players were slipping, ev-
Yeah.
and that really, I think it brought a lot of pressure off of the quarterbacks on both sides of the ball. Um, Other than that, it was an amazing offensive game. The Eagles obviously came up short. I think everyone expected them to go in there and dominate a lot more like they have the whole entire season. But not to blame, um, not to blame Jalen Hurts or anything, but he did do some questionable things in the big moments.
Yeah.
Um, that fumble was really costly, as we talked about many times on the podcast. No margin for error in big games like that,
Yeah.
and that was a big error. And then, him throwing it up in the double coverage twice. The first one wasn't double coverage. I guess he threw a touchdown, but that second one should have been a pick. And I was hands on my head. I don't know how he didn't catch that ball.
Yeah.
Um, but other than that, it was a pretty good game. Very controversial call at the end, but Patrick Mahomes came up on top.
Yeah. I was actually pretty impressed with Jalen Hurts, despite, obviously, yeah, the margin for error in big games like that is very small. And in a game of inches, in a game like that where it's such a shootout, a defensive touchdown could be the difference. And that's what it ended up being. But I was very impressed with Jalen Hurts. He's might be one of my favorite players that doesn't play for the Steelers. I think he's a great player. I appreciate him being at Alabama and then losing the starting job and then coming back and playing a couple games for them and then going to Oklahoma. But other than that, as for the game itself, yeah, I mean, I thought it was a pretty back and forth game. The Eagles led by 10 at one point, but I don't think it ever got anywhere beyond that. The Chiefs, at the end of the day, the difference were the two, coincidentally, in such an offensive game with a lot of points, the two plays that made the biggest difference were the plays that didn't happen on offense. The play that happened on special teams and the play that happened defense. So they get the fumble recovery for the touchdown. That's killer. And the Eagles were they winning 14-7 at that point, and they were looking like they were going to go down and score another touchdown. Well, not that they were score a touchdown, but they had forced Kansas City to punt, and they looked like they were moving the rock pretty well. So that not only that's a 10 to 14 point swing, depending on what might have potentially happened. But at the end of the day, it's 7 points that Kansas City had that they didn't necessarily need to have that quickly, and that's a momentum changing play. And then the punt return. I mean, like you said, players were slipping all over the field. I'm not, we'd have to look at the tape again, but I looked at the punt return close up, and yeah, he makes like Kadarius Toney makes like five guys miss. So, you know, we'd
I
have to
mean,
further
Kadarius
analyze
Toney,
whether or not the
he
field
was
had an
slipping
impact.
himself. Like he slipped himself
Yeah.
on that return.
And so, but at the end of the day, like, yeah, just Kansas City came up with the two biggest non-offensive plays, and that ultimately was the difference. And I was rooting for the Eagles. I don't necessarily like the Chiefs or Mahomes, but yeah, I mean the Chiefs came up with the bigger, they came up with the biggest plays, and that at the end of the day, that was the difference.
You know, I don't see the Chiefs being in this situation next year. Um, I think this year, obviously they had talent. I'm not going to take it away from them. They won because they had talent, but I just don't see it again next year. Not too big. Not a hater on Mahomes. He's a great quarterback. Not a
I am. I'm
hater
a
on
hater. I'll
Danny
admittedly.
Green.
I'll admit I'm a hater. I'm definitely a hater.
I'm not a hater on Andy Reid or anything, but I don't see them back in that position next year. Now with all the competition coming up in the AFC.
Yeah. I mean, but the only thing about that is it's kind of like we've been saying that for a couple years now, haven't we? Right? Like, obviously last year they lost to the Bengals, but I remember 2 years ago, was it? That might have been 2020. No, maybe not
Hmm.
2020, but like last season, 2021 season, people were talking of people finally caught up to the Chiefs because like they weren't in first place. Like were the Chiefs like I want to say they were like 3-4 or not like first place in their division last season. So
Yeah.
that would have been the 2021 year, and people were like, "Oh, the Chiefs are done." And then even this year, people were thinking the Chiefs were done. So it really is on Patrick Mahomes. I mean, it's not like the defense was super impressive. I mean, they did give up 35 points. Juju Smith-Schuster was, was honestly his top wide receiver, and there was a time where people thought Juju Smith-Schuster could be a number one guy, but then obviously he proved that wasn't necessarily who he was going to be. But I mean, he still has Travis Kelsey. The O line was good this year. They got some young pieces on there. I know Creed Humphrey just recently got drafted, so he's pretty new. Um, but it's all on Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes, the Chiefs will go as far as Patrick Mahomes takes them. As long as he's their quarterback, they have at least a 50% chance to win any game. As long as he's the QB, it doesn't matter what super team is lining up on the opposite side of the field. As long as he's their quarterback, he makes plays. He makes big time plays with his legs. And I guess the only way
Yeah.
to beat Patrick Mahomes is if he has a bad O line. I guess.
See, and that's where I'm gonna disagree with you for. I honestly think it's gonna bite Patrick Mahomes with all the money he took from that team.
Yeah.
Like I think it's gonna bite him. Like he didn't have much of an offense all year, and then they traded for Tony, and then Juju got healthy. He didn't have nothing all year. And I think the biggest thing to take from that is he's not surrounded with weapons anymore besides Travis Kelsey. And even Travis Kelsey was on a bad slope into the season. So you look at stuff like that and you're like, well, what happens if Travis Kelsey goes ahead and retires? What is Patrick
Yeah.
Mahomes going to do? Because he takes up so much of the cap space, taking what, 50 mil, what, 47 million, something like that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. No, I mean
just simple stuff like that.
that's a good point. And yeah, I guess it's interesting because I don't know. Well, that's why they lost Tyreek Hill, right? Because they didn't want to pay him what he wanted to be paid. We'll see what happens with Kelsey. I mean, Kelsey retiring is not this year, but sometime soon is not a stretch within the next 4 or 5 years because he's got 2 rings. He's widely considered as one of the top tight ends of all time. Great production. He's a great player. He's getting older. He's not young. I mean, he was playing with the Chiefs back when Alex Smith was their quarterback, so he's been around for quite some time now. But the cap space thing is interesting because yeah, he is making $50 million, but like I'm saying, man, as long as Patrick Mahomes is on the field and that quarterback, the Chiefs have a chance. So as long as he's on the team, I don't think obviously it matters who's around him, but you have Patrick Mahomes and a good old line and running backs. I mean, look at that. Pacheco is 7th round pick. So you're telling me they're going to find these guys in the draft, plug them in, and they'll run behind the good old line and supported by the fear of the Patrick Mahomes pass game. The Chiefs will go as far as Patrick Mahomes takes them. Now Patrick Mahomes could retire tomorrow. He could be like, I'm done. I got 2 Super Bowls. I played 6 seasons, but I started for 5. I'm 2 MVPs. I mean, he would forfeit he doesn't want to forfeit his $500 million contract. So obviously he wouldn't retire, but it's all on Patrick Mahomes. He is the MVP. He is the best player in the NFL.
Yep. And I totally agree with that. He's the MVP. He's the best player in the league, obviously, and he's definitely
And
a
I
game
think
changer.
there's no dispute of is there no dispute of that anymore? Because I know there was the Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow thing for a second. Can we just
I mean,
admit that Pat Mahomes is the most?
there's always going to be that person. There's always going to be that player, that creeps up,
Hmm.
but they don't really pass. And that's what I wanted to do with
Yeah.
Burrow. I wanted people to
Hmm.
put respect on Burrow for beating Patrick Mahomes last year, and
Yeah.
I think he's still going to gain his respect next year. Um,
Well, two
I,
things can be true at once, right? Joe Burrow can
yeah, I
be a
mean,
great quarterback, but Patrick Mahomes could still be the most feared, most valuable, and
yeah,
player.
and I'm gonna put it like this: if Jalen Hurts didn't miss them 2 games, he was MVP this year, and everyone knows it. I mean, it was a clear he was a clear winner the whole season. His team was better. He was better overall. I mean, there was a lot of things that Jalen Hurts did really good this year that made him be the MVP. He just missed 2 games.
Well, I think Jalen Hurts should have been the MVP yesterday. I mean, obviously, the losing team's players are going to win the MVP, but in the moment after yesterday's game, I was upset because I was like Patrick Mahomes. Like, I hate one thing I don't like is the Patrick Mahomes meat writing that goes on TV because
Yeah,
I watch Get Up and I
and I
watch
think
First
that's it.
Take and I watch Fox. I watch the broadcast. Like, and that stuff just makes me so mad. So whenever I see like this is just another thing, like it's not to say anybody else on Kansas City would have been the MVP because Patrick Mahomes, like we're saying, he is the guy. Kansas City will never play a game where even if Patrick Mahomes has the worst game of his career, he's still the most valuable player on the team. That will never not be true. But at the end of the day, it's like Patrick Mahomes gets the MVP from Hurts because Hurts got injured, and now he gets the Super Bowl MVP because and obviously played a great second half, and his ankles were injured. But I mean, Jalen Hurts, especially after the fumble, he had the passing touchdown, or no, I don't quite remember, but I know he had at least 2 touchdowns after the fumble, and he had the 2-point conversion where he ran it in. He threw for 308 yards.
Yeah,
Jalen
he
Hurts,
had a
in my
better
opinion,
game
was
than he had a better game than Mahomes. I mean, Mahomes only threw for I think a
he
buck
threw for
85
182.
and 3 touchdowns.
21 for
Yeah,
27
so
is pretty solid.
yeah, I mean he had a solid game. Don't get me wrong, but Jalen
Mhm.
Hurts outshined him yesterday.
Hurts
But
was
it's
the
just a
best player
simple
on the field.
fact.
Not yeah.
Yeah, it's just a simple fact that his decision making and just the way that they have their offense set up, I think it hurt the Eagles a lot more. Like you can't be taking runs with your quarterback and on the slippiest field known to man. Like, you guys knew that was a problem and you guys are all saying, hey, this field's really slippery and you're running QB draws with your quarterback, it's just not going to work. Um, and I also think his arm, he had a shoulder injury, didn't he? It was a shoulder injury. I don't think
Yeah, it
he
was
was
a
fully
shoulder.
healed
Yeah,
from that. Just the way he was throwing the ball, it looked like
that's
he
a good
was
point.
launching that thing, but then it
Yeah.
came up a little short
Well, you saw the
every
Hail
single
Mary.
time. Yeah,
Yeah.
every time though. Like even on that passing touchdown, it looked like he was going to launch it in the back of the end zone,
Yeah.
and it was still came up a little short. Like I feel like he wanted that flowing out a lot further than it went.
I guess I'm just the thing that aches me about the MVP given in a situation like that is it can be very much affected by one play to change like you know what I'm saying? The Eagles win that game and Jalen Hurts is no question the MVP. But because, the Chiefs get the win and they kick the field goal at the end, Mahomes ends up getting it. So that kind of, let me ask you, like, what do you think of the penalty call at the end of the game? And do you think NFL officiating, particularly late in the game, is becoming a problem?
I mean, it's been out of hand. It's been out of hand, and I really hope the NFL they want to address it. Like they want to address that call
They'll
particularly
never address it. They'll never.
because they want
Yeah.
to address that because it'd be a big problem if they address that, and we all know that. But it's become such a problem that it's really hard to watch football games without literally getting upset at what the refs do. And I mean, it's the same in the NBA. The NBA refs are just as bad, if not
Yeah, like
worse.
what they were doing to LeBron.
Yeah, I mean, the NBA refs are bad, the NFL refs are bad, but that call was I think it was horrible. And of course, I'm watching the game, and some stupid announcer's like, "Oh, I think it was a flag." It wasn't a flag. There was
Yeah.
no, there was nowhere near a flag on that play, and I
Uh,
just thought that was the Patrick Mahomes meat ring right there. Like, oh, it
yeah.
was a flag. It wasn't a flag, bro. You're just saying that because you like Patrick Mahomes, which
Yeah.
is cool, but don't do that. Like, it wasn't a flag. and they should let that play out. Everyone in the stadium, Chiefs fan or not, wanted to see them get a chance on offense.
So the thing is like, so I want to address a few things here. So first off, that after they called that penalty, it kind of deflated the final 2. Would you agree with that? The penalty was called. It was 3rd and 8, and that decided the game. Like there was no hope for Philadelphia after that because Kansas City was just going to kneel it out. And I don't remember if Philly had 1 timeout or no timeouts, but you knew Kansas City was just going to kneel it out, kick the field goal with like either time running out or a few seconds left, and they were going to win it. So it was
Mhm.
kind of like this is the final 2 minutes of the NFL Super Bowl. This is the final 2 minutes, and they're gonna line up to kick a field goal. It should be very suspenseful, but it was kind of like it was kind of like it was just like a very uninspiring, I can't think of the word I'm thinking of, but you know what I mean. Like it wasn't fun. Like the final 2 minutes of the Super Bowl should be
No,
fun, but it wasn't fun. It was very
it was
deflating.
disappointing. That was it. It
It
was
was
disappointing.
disappointing. It was very disappointing for what the final 2 minutes of the Super Bowl could be because of the fact that you know. So an example that I was thinking of, right, in terms of another time when officiating really affected a game, the Saints versus the Rams, right?
That
And
was bad. That was
NFC
bad
Championship,
though.
correct. But
That was
just
horrible.
listen. NFC Championship. Oh, I want to say that was what 2018 or 2019. When that flag is not thrown, the Saints still kick the field goal. They still have a chance to get a stop on the Rams and not let them kick a field goal, and they still have a chance to go to overtime and win. Whereas yesterday, whenever that flag is thrown, the game is over and everybody knows it. And that is what's most disappointing, in my opinion. And second, I mean, it was a hold. It's textbook. Juju beats him on the route and he grabs him to try to slow him down from going farther downfield. But that doesn't mean two things can be true at once. Yes, it can be a hold, but that doesn't mean at that point in the game, considering they hadn't been calling holdings for the entirety of the game so far, it was very soft. And like I just said, it determined the game. If Kansas City would have been down 3 and they would have gave them a free first down and they would have had a chance to tie or score a touchdown to win, then I would have been like, okay. But the fact that that tiny call, a little bit of contact completely is it was like I know they'll say one play wasn't the difference. There's things we could have did better, but
That's what
in
everybody's gonna say
hindsight,
though.
based off of what we saw, that was what determined the game.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm gonna disagree with you a little bit on that. I don't think it even warranted enough to get called. Like
Yeah,
he didn't wrap him, grab him by his jersey. He kind of just put his
yeah,
arm right on his hip as he
he
was
tugged him a little
turning.
bit. Yeah,
Yeah, and I mean, it wasn't like a grab at the jersey. It was more of like a he placed his hand right at his hip and didn't turn him because he was already kind of filled. So it's not like he grabbed him
yeah.
and like moved his body all around. So I think that was the biggest like deflate of the game. I honestly think Patrick Mahomes, he's going to be just like Brady, where people are going to stop liking him, mainly
Yeah.
because Meat Ryan, refs, and the Chiefs just always seem to get every single call.
And you know what? It's funny you say that because I was saying this week, I'm saying for the Super Bowl, I am rooting for the Eagles because I cannot stand when teams get clear and obvious favoritism from the referees. I've been saying that for 2 weeks now. And the Eagles lost. I get it, right? They could have been better. There were plays they could have done better earlier in the game, whatever. But ultimately, what the people will remember is the Eagles lost for that exact reason. And it's crazy to me because so we didn't get a chance to cover the AFC Championship game. But what did you think of the penalty at the end of that game? Because it's a similar situation.
I think the Chiefs and it's funny you see all the memes with the refs in the Chiefs jerseys. Like I don't honestly think that. I just think the NFL needs to do something. Like I think that's the biggest thing, is especially in a moment like this, they should be calling down and being like, "Hey, get that out of here!" Like it's the Super Bowl. Like you don't throw that flag, pick it up, call it a day, move
Yeah.
on.
You know what I think? Here's tell me what you think of this. So first of all, well, what did you think of the one against the Bengals when he like kind of touched him when he was a little bit out of bounds and he fell and then they threw the flag?
I can't remember. I really can't. Hold
Well,
on.
Patrick Mahomes was like a few steps out of bounds,
Oh no,
and the
that one
Bengal
was
player like
bad. No, 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 no. He definitely deserves a flag for that one.
Okay.
But I don't think it was intentional. But the way that it was, he was way out of bounds. Like there was no
Correct.
way they couldn't throw a flag.
That's right. But here's what I'll say to that. I think if it comes down to the last 2 minutes of a playoff game and there is a penalty that could give the other team a clear like path to win the game, like not like a chance to a better chance, but like a clear like they're gonna win the game. Why don't you just make them replay the down? You make them replay the down. That way the game isn't completely determined. As long as it's not super egregious and an unsportsmanlike or somebody punches somebody in the face, you say, okay, it's a penalty. We'll replay the down because we don't want because for the sake of our game and for the product of our game, we don't want it to end on something like that. You
Yeah,
barely
and I
touched them.
think
It's a
that was the
holding. We'll
biggest
let you
thing.
replay the down.
That was the biggest thing is when he ran out of bounds. Like you can tell he was trying to slow up, but the dude's
Correct.
300. The dude's 300 pounds. You think he can
What's he
stop on a
supposed to do?
dime?
Just stop? Yeah.
He can't stop on a dime. He's running 20 miles per hour. He's 300 fucking pounds.
And
Like
you
he's
know what?
not gonna
Another
stop on
thing,
a dime.
yeah, and another thing that people aren't remembering. Do you remember how the last year's Super Bowl ended?
Mm-mm.
20-16, Rams Bengals. Rams have the ball like very very deep. It's the 2 or 3 yard line, and they throw a holding penalty on the Bengals player on Cooper Kupp on 3rd and goal, and it sets up the Rams. They have 1st and goal with like a minute left, and they score the touchdown to win the game. If you don't
Yeah.
remember that, but it's very similar and that call was controversial. I remember thinking the same thing. So two very similar controversial endings on holding penalties, 2 Super Bowls in a row, and at the end of the day. Not everybody's going to, at the end of the day, we'll remember that the Chiefs won and we'll remember that the Rams won the Super Bowl. But some people will always have that mantra and that notion and just knowing that, we were
It
cheated
wasn't.
out
It
of
wasn't a correct win.
we were cheated out of the fair ending, out of the ending that we deserved. And,
And if
at
it
the end
was
of the day,
my
life's
team,
not
if it was my team, I'd be over here crying and complaining about it all day
oh my
because
God. If
there's
yes,
no there's no there's no need for that with instant replays with 800 cameras all around the
very
stadium
true.
with
Especially at the end of the
HD.
Super Bowl. We're not talking about the week 1 or week 2. We're talking about so maybe that's what they could do. Maybe all penalties in the final 2 minutes will be reviewed or something like that because it's the Super Bowl, bro. This isn't week 2, Browns versus Raiders. Like this is the Super Bowl. People's lives, people's legacies are on the line and it's being decided because of a bogus penalty call that didn't even need to be called.
Yeah, and I think that's the biggest factor. Um, congratulations to the Chiefs. But like I said,
Yeah.
people are really going to start. They're going to stop liking Patrick Mahomes just because
I
it
already
seems like
have.
he
I already
gets
stopped
every
liking them.
call. It seems like he gets every call. He's a heck of a player, but when that starts following you around, once you get you know, that type of notion around you, it's just like no one's really gonna like you. Like no one's gonna even want to like
It was
people
like the
aren't gonna want to
Patriots.
watch the Chiefs play.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely agree. Anything else on the Super Bowl?
No, I think that's it for the NFL. It was a good
Yeah.
season. We got 200 and some days away for the next season to come around.
Yeah, it was a great season. I watched more football this year than I ever had before, and hopefully it's a good off season. A lot of player movement, but you never know where people are going to end up, who's going to get traded, who's going to get signed. But a league where people do get traded, right?
Yeah, league when you can do whatever the fuck you want. Apparently,
Player empowerment is number one in the National Basketball Association. So what do you want to talk about first? The Lakers or the Suns?
I want to let's just clear everything up now. I'm sick and tired of the NBA when it comes to the trades. Like, there is no reason for this team to even be assembled to where you have Chris Paul, Devin Booker, DeAndre Ayton, and now Kevin Durant on the same team. It's so nerve wracking that the
Yeah.
NBA keeps not even just keeps letting this happen, but keeps letting it happen with KD.
The
Like he can
luxury
just He can leave. He can request who he wants. He can request a trade whenever he wants. And
Yeah.
I don't want. It's bad for the game. I mean, I'm all about if you're not happy, leave. But dude, it's just at the point where it's like he's never happy no matter where he is. And it's just how are you going to keep just leaving and picking up and leaving?
Yeah, so okay, two things. First, yeah, the only issue about players requesting trades is like, well, teams can trade you whenever you want. I get it, you sign a contract, but like you could be happy as hell on one team one day and then the next day you're traded. So I kind of get that a little bit. But the thing about the Suns is the luxury tax needs to be abolished and not in the way you might think. I'm not saying there needs to be no luxury tax. You know what the luxury tax is, right?
I don't even know how it works.
So basically, there's a salary cap, right? If you go over the salary cap by paying too many players too much money, then the owner has to pay a luxury tax, whether it's 400 million, 500, like hundreds of millions of dollars. But it doesn't
Mhm.
matter because when you win championships in sports, people don't care how much it costs. They need to stop using this luxury tax as an excuse and just be like, this is the salary cap. You cannot go over it. Because at the end of the day, this is why super teams are being formed. This is why Kevin Durant, Chris Paul, Devin Booker, and DeAndre Ayton can all be getting paid $40+ million and be on the same team.
And may
Because
I
teams
mind
will
you,
go over the salary cap and they'll just say, oh, we'll just pay the luxury tax. The Suns just got a
people
new
may
owner.
not
He wants to make a big splash.
people may not think that DeAndre Ayton is like a big three type of guy, but 3 or 2 days before 3 or 2 games
Hmm.
before KD came over there, DeAndre Ayton had like 35 points.
Yeah. And DeAndre Ayton, he's also getting paid $40 million. Like you do have four players on your team that are getting paid 40+ million. It should never be allowed. That's just it ruins the
No.
competitive balance. And
Yeah, and
like
there's
I
no
miss
that's
the M.
that's the thing. There's no competitive balance. Like, yeah, everybody thinks, oh, it's fair, there's a whole bunch of teams now. No. Everyone
It's
knows at
not.
the end of the season, it's gonna be either the Suns or the Warriors. That's what everyone wants to act like, oh, we got Luca and the Mavs, we got this and that, we got the Bucks. No. We all know at the end of the season, now it's gonna be the Suns or the Warriors and then whoever from the freaking East just to go get beat by the West. That's all. Like,
Well, and it's sad because we had a really 2020 was the best NBA season ever because because
it was fair. It was
2015
even playgrounds for every single team.
2015, everybody thought the Cavs were going to win the championship. Now the Warriors ended up winning and came out of nowhere that season, but everybody had for 4 years with the Heat, everybody had a clear-cut favorite. The Heat were going to win the championship. For that year with the Cavs, it was a clear-cut champion. Then it was the Warriors and the Cavs, and then with Kevin Durant, it was the Warriors. And then 2019-20 was the first year legitimately in about a decade where any team, like any of those teams in either conference, could have won the championship. Like I
Yeah, and I
remember
think that
that
was the
year.
most competitive.
I remember that year before COVID happened thinking, wow, any of these teams can win the championship. I mean, it was just unbelievable. And then we had it a little bit in 2021. And then in 2022, well, the thing about 2021 was the James Harden, Kyrie Irving, KD Nets.
Yep.
So even though the Nets got bounced out of the playoffs, there was still a team that people knew was obviously and clearly the number one favorite to win the championship. 2020 was so great because they didn't have that.
And I think that's the biggest part right there. What you're saying is there's literally clear cut favorites, and it's coming to the point where I don't even watch basketball. Like
It's not
I
even fun
watch the
anymore.
games, but it's just simple of guess who's going to win at the end of the day. It's going to be either the Warriors or it's going to be the Suns now. And I just think it's so bad for the game. And they need to control some type of it's almost like the NCAA transfer portal. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like everyone just they hop in it, boom, they're gone. And I think that's the biggest thing, and it's bad for the game. Like
And Kevin
I'm
Durant, I
all
mean,
about
Jesus
player
Christ.
empowerment, but dude,
Yeah.
you like it's an uneven playing field. Like you're creating super dupe. Like these aren't just regular super teams. These are people that any four of them players can drop 40 any night they want.
And like the thing about it is like it's the Kevin Durant thing is so disappointing because every time he starts to get a little likable, I mean, bro, are you serious? You're telling me every team you're on, it has to be a super team? Are you serious, bro? Are you kidding me?
Yeah,
And then people
and I
have the nerve
mean,
to talk stuff about LeBron. Look at what he had to deal with for the first, for last season and the first whatever games this season. And then Kevin Durant, literally, could you imagine, Jonathan, if every team LeBron was on, if he had the teammates that since 2017 when he went to the Warriors, if LeBron was on all those teams, how many rings would he be sitting on right now?
I don't think he would have ever lost.
He'd be sitting on, if you include the two Miami, he'd be sitting on 9 championships right now if he would have had the same teams KD's had since 2017.
You give LeBron, Kyrie, and James Harden, he's
Are you
not gonna
kidding
lose
me?
the ship. He's not
And
gonna
you
lose
know
the
what?
ship.
Respectfully, in 2021 when the Nets got bounced by Giannis, LeBron would have won that series. Respectfully,
100%.
even with James Harden being crippled and Kyrie Irving out, respectfully, LeBron would have won that series.
Yeah, 100. I mean, the
Like that's
Nets
not even a
they were pretty
debate,
hurt.
bro.
They were really hurt. I'll give them that. But just the way KD carries
Le-
himself, he kicks everybody else out. Like no one really wants to play with him once they
KD
actually play with him.
KD's soft talking, has his burner account, hates that people hate him. This is why people hate you, bro. Look at your teams. James Harden, Kyrie Irving, Devin Booker, Chris Paul, Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, Russell Westbrook. Are you serious? These are the
Yeah,
teammates
I
you've been
mean,
working with?
and don't get me wrong, like everyone uses the LeBron, he got super teams. But at least LeBron
No.
people are like old. Like at least they're old legends. Like they're not even who do the Lakers got right now? AD?
You're talking about people calling this Lakers team a super team?
Oh, fuck, no one's calling this a super
Oh,
team.
you're talking about in the past. Okay.
Yeah. And I mean,
AD is a great teammate of LeBron.
even when he won a championship recently, it was just like it was 80. That's all
Here,
he had was
here's
80.
what I'll say. Here's what I'll say. So when LeBron,
And I mean,
AD,
hey, we gotta talk about AD too. He's a hater, man. I don't care what he said
before
in
we
that
get
interview.
before we get
He's
to
a
AD, hold
hater.
up, real quick. Before we get to AD, since I'm in a LeBron mood, so let's defend LeBron. I haven't done it in a long time, so let's do it. Kyrie Irving, Anthony Davis, Dwayne Wade were his number two guys, correct, on championship teams that he's won.
Mhm.
Is Steph? Tell me on that list who Steph Curry is not better than. Better yet, Kevin Love when he played for the Cavs, not prime Kevin Love. Chris Bosh when he played for the Heat, and I get it. He had a different role. Each player had to take on different roles to play on those teams. Which one of those players is better than Klay Thompson? Which one of those players is giving you 60 points on four dribbles?
See, wait, relax. Because I won't say Kevin Love was better than Clay. No. But
Chris Bosh was
Clay's a silent kid. Like Clay was I think Clay will be the most underrated when it's all said and done
he was
because
one of
he
the
was
best
a
3 NBA players
silent
ever.
killer. He's a
Yes,
silent killer and he doesn't give you the flashy Stephen Curry threes. He'll drop 30 on you and still play defense on you. And I'll say Chris Bosh all time. Chris Bosh is definitely better than Clay. But when it comes to when he was
I'm
playing
talking
with
at the
Braun,
time of when they
yeah,
were
when he was
teammates.
playing
When
with
when
Braun, no fucking
Now,
Clay was
Chris Bosh was
definitely
that
better
guy,
than
and he
him.
was he still averaged like 16 points, great rebounder. But Chris
Yeah.
Bosh with the Heat versus Klay Thompson in his prime. So it just irks my soul, bro, that people will talk about LeBron losing in the finals. But like, could you imagine? Like, I'm speechless right now. I can't even talk about it.
If Braun
I
had a team that KD had, man, he'd have
If for the last 7 years, if
he'd
LeBron
have
had the same team that Kevin Durant had, LeBron would be sitting on 9 championships right now.
he'd have
He'd be
Bill
9-2
Russell
in the finals.
rings. He'd have Bill Russell championship rings.
Yeah,
Like it just
not even
doesn't it
close.
doesn't even make sense. I don't understand how KD doesn't win. Like he only won twice. And then okay, the third time he's with the Warriors, he got hurt.
He got
But
hurt in 2019. He was hurt all 2020, and he was hurt 2021.
yeah, so like if you put LeBron in that situation, I want
Bro,
to,
KD
trade it.
got swept in the first round.
Yeah, yeah, and that's just what it
Swept.
comes down to. Yeah,
Like
he got
LeBron, like
completely swept.
LeBron might be getting swept in the finals, but guess what?
It's the
KD
finals.
began KD began swept in the first round, bro. And
And
it,
that's not even an argument though, because no one will ever say KD was like it would never be an argument, an actual
you're
legitimate
correct.
argument where people will
You're
be like KD's
100%
better than
correct.
LeBron.
It
That
will
would never be
never
an
be an
argument.
argument.
It
But
would
it just
never
irks
ever
my
be an
soul because
argument.
there are and there is and there always will be those people. There's always going to be those
There
people.
will all there will always be those people, but everyone will always say, "Hey, KD was a really good basketball player, probably the best scorer of all time." But no one will ever say, as a basketball player, he was better than LeBron.
You know
No
what?
one will say that.
You know what else irks my soul a little bit? I feel like LeBron could be 10-0 in the finals right now, and people would still say Jordan was better than him.
I seen a TikTok about that where somebody made a TikTok and they were talking about in the future this dude's 14-0 in finals and everybody's still talking about MJ's the GOAT.
Yeah.
14-0 in the finals and MJ's still the GOAT. You
Yeah.
know,
Those people are delusional.
literally,
I
like
think
it happens with every generation though. And LeBron's going to be our generation's defending.
you're right.
Um,
You're right.
just like
It's
the
so funny.
generation before, it was
Yeah.
Magic, and just like the generation before that,
There's
it
those
was Kareem,
There's Kobe people out there. There's Kobe people out there.
and just like the generation before that, it was
Mhm.
Wilt, and that was
It
it.
is it is funny you say that because like, we're passionate LeBron guys. We've been like that for forever. But it is funny because in 50 years or 40 years or whatever, you know, we'll be talking about this and there'll be a new guy who people think is the best. And we'll be sitting there thinking, oh my goodness, this guy doesn't have shit on. Like he could be 9-0 in the finals, have more points, whatever. And we'd
Yeah,
still be like, oh my
and
God,
we'll still say you don't have
LeBron would have gave
nothing
this
on
kid the work.
LeBron James.
LeBron would have gave this kid the work. It'll always be
Yeah, I
like that.
mean that's how it's always going to be. Is
You're
everyone's
right.
always
Yeah,
going to defend their player from their generation, which
for
is
sure.
totally okay. I
Yeah.
understand. Everyone's always going to do that, but
But
there's
LeBron's still the
blatant
GOAT though.
like
Like that's undisputed. That doesn't, it don't matter
there's just
who
there's
where you're.
blatant. I don't know. I don't
He's
feel
the
like
all-time leading scorer, bro. He's a pass-first guy.
no. And I think I don't. I won't ever say that LeBron's not the good. LeBron's the good. Like just what he does on the court, off the court. LeBron's the
In the
greatest.
community,
He's the
in the
greatest of
trenches.
all time.
Yeah, Jordan doesn't do
He's a
shit for the trenches.
fuck man. Jordan gambled all his. He didn't gamble all his money. He's filthy rich, but man, Jordan's game. Imagine if Jordan put his gambling money into the community. Oh boy,
Yeah,
what if
there'd
he
be
did?
like there'd be
What if he
flying
gave
cars
all
by
that
now,
money?
bro.
What if he gave
Yeah,
all that money to Chicago? He played in Chicago 6 years. Let me look
it's
that up. I'm
so
about to see what did Jordan give back to the community.
that's so funny. Have you ever seen those memes where it's like society if and it's like there's like flying cars, there's like clear, beautiful, crystal clear buildings. So that's society. If Jordan spent his gambling money on giving back, that's what society would be. I don't. It's probably not much. I mean, obviously we don't know, but like, it's not even close to what LeBron's done. I mean, LeBron has a foundation. He has a school.
Yeah, I mean,
He has his
like
own like
it's
museum.
saying
I think.
I can't find anything from when he was actually playing.
Uh huh.
Um, and that's not the debate. As a
And
person,
LeBron's
hundred
still a
percent,
player. LeBron still has. Yeah.
yeah,
You
hundred
know.
percent. Jordan's not on the same level as a person, but even as a
Oh
basketball
no.
player, I don't see I don't see Jordan being better than LeBron. Like just all
Okay.
time, no, no.
So
Jordan's
can
a
I
great scorer, and hot. I'm a lot of people are gonna be really people are gonna be really really mad when I say this.
go ahead?
Have you ever watched Michael Jordan's highlights?
Yeah.
And then
I
have
mean,
you ever
some.
watched Kobe's highlights? I mean, I've watched how I mean hours,
I haven't
hours.
analyzed, but I've seen clips.
I've
Yeah.
watched hours. I remember one day. It was shortly after Kobe died. You know, I watched highlights of Kobe for 2 hours. And then I went over and I watched all the highlights I could find of MJ.
Hmm.
People are gonna get really mad when I say this, but
But
Kobe
Kobe
was
was
better
better.
than MJ.
He was better at
Kobe was
being
better
MJ
than
than
MJ.
MJ was.
And that I think that's the biggest problem is everyone's
Yeah.
like, well, Kobe copied MJ. Kobe copied MJ. Yeah, but he did it better than MJ did. And I mean, respect the MJ because obviously that's where Kobe got most of his game from.
Mhm.
But if you really sit here and analyze it, Kobe did everything that MJ did, just better. You can't name
So,
me one thing MJ did better than
well,
Kobe besides pass. I mean, he might maybe pass the ball because Kobe did not pass.
so here's yeah, that's a very hot take. I'm not an educated enough to give a legitimate response. But here's the thing I'll say. Here's the last thing I'll say about LeBron. I think the thing with me has always been that I think LeBron just deserves his respect
Oh, 100
from
percent.
From the Skip Baylesses of the world, from all the haters. LeBron deserves his respect, and to me, I'll never be able to fairly say who the GOAT was because I didn't get to watch Michael Jordan play. I didn't. You know, you can watch highlights all you want. I'd have to go watch him back and watch every single game of his career, and I still wouldn't be able to get the
No,
proper
and I
perspective.
mean, and that's not that's not the biggest point of it all. It's just that Kobe. Obviously, we watched Kobe play. Kobe was
Yeah,
so like maybe that's how everyone felt about MJ. Kobe was so freaking good, and it was just
yeah,
like, yo, no one's better than Kobe. Like that's how it was. And then
yeah.
everybody's, oh, MJ's this, MJ's that. I mean, that's cool, but just I think just Kobe's demeanor, the way Kobe was, the way he played the game, the way
You
his
taking
like
Kobe
the
over
way his
Braun?
mind worked. No, I'm not
Oh,
going
okay.
that
I was
far.
about to
I'm
say.
not
I was
even.
like, yeah,
I wouldn't even take Kobe over MJ. But I'm saying the simple fact that I think Kobe was a little like people sleep on Kobe, but him and MJ were the same. He just had one less ring. And I think the only thing that takes away from Kobe is the fact that he had Shaq and he didn't win MVP. You know, he was kind of the second guy. And I think that's the only thing that takes away from Kobe's career.
that's true.
Like,
Kobe
other
does
than
lack
that,
the MVP.
if Kobe was the number one player on that Shaq and Kobe team, I think Kobe would have been everybody would have been saying he's better than Jordan. But because
I
he
feel like
wasn't the number one option, no one
you know
says it.
what? I feel like that's always going to bring him down because
Because he had Shaq.
if you weren't the best player, I mean, LeBron and Michael Jordan have always undisputably from the, especially like, I can't speak too much to Michael Jordan, but I'm pretty sure, I watched The Last Dance. But LeBron, ever since LeBron James has stepped foot in the league, he has been the best player on every team he's ever been on, and that might end up be what holds Kobe Bryant back is the fact that there's not even an argument who was better.
No.
The fact that there's
Yeah.
even a debate and an argument will ultimately end up holding Kobe back.
And I mean, we all like it was just that he was the best on the team. Like Shaq was the best in the league. Like
Yeah.
it wasn't just like, hey, this is just, this guy's better than you on the team. Shaq was the best player in the league at the time.
Yeah,
He was an MVP.
and LeBron and MJ never had the chance to have the best player in the league on their team as their teammate because they were the best player. So it's an interesting debate. It's something people don't talk about. I feel like enough, and it might be a little Kobe died, and obviously we want to make sure we respect him and give him his flowers. But yeah, it's very interesting debate, very interesting topic.
Yeah. I mean, I can debate about it all day, but it's a simple fact that Braun's better than MJ. I don't care what nobody said. Like
That's all that matters.
LeBron, like
That's
we
all
can
that
argue
matters.
all day. I'll give you every single reason. Not I won't give you every single reason. I won't give you an excuse on why he lost every single championship. Because yes, he lost championships. Like there is
The
championships
Mavericks
that he lost
championship is
that's
the
like,
only one you can legitimately put on him, but I don't want to hear shit about 4 and 6.
and that is why that is the only like that's not the only one. Like that's the main one. I'm like, yo, Braun, you lost that. Like you lost.
Think about how different LeBron's legacy. If he's 5-5 and not 4 and 6 right now, he's sitting on 5 rings. I mean, like I said, it might not make a difference to the Jordan fans because you know how they are. But if he be sitting on 5 rings right now with a three-peat,
Yeah, he would have three-peat.
when LeBron retires, that will be what he looks back on and is like, that's my biggest regret. Is that?
And I think that's the biggest thing is like when he came to LA, that's what everyone wanted him to do. Dang, Braun needs to three-peat real quick. Braun three-peats, it's over. He's gonna lock to the beta. And that's even what Shaq said when he first came to LA. He was like, if he three-peats, he's gonna be in the Lakers Hall of Fame. He's gonna be in the Lakers Mount Rushmore. But that's just,
Yeah.
that's not what's gonna happen here in the Lakers. The Lakers organization, no, they have like nothing. Nothing. Like literally,
We'll see. Let's
they
see how
don't know
this
how to.
retool
They don't know
goes,
how to run
bro.
that
Let's
team.
see how the retool. Let's see what happens with the retool. I think LeBron just needs a chance. If you put LeBron in the playoffs, he has a chance. So we just need to get him in, like, not the play-in. He needs to get in the playoffs.
Yeah, and I mean the playoff, not the play. No one should be playing in the play-in tournament. Like that's just you shouldn't be looking to go
I
to the
hate the play-in
championship
tournament. I'm
out the
not. I'm
play-in
not a fan
tournament.
of the play-in tournament.
No,
It's all a
I'm
cash
not.
grab. That's all everything is now.
I'm definitely not a fan of it either. And I mean,
Yeah.
if you're looking to go to the championship, you shouldn't be playing in the play-in tournament.
No, I'm not a fan either.
Any team can
The
win one
play
game.
to me,
That's
it's
the
just
way
like
I look
stupid.
at
Like
it.
the difference between the 10th seed and the 7th seed could be like 10 games. It's just like the play-in was good for that COVID year. It was good for that, but other than that, there is just not
They should have
necessary.
got rid of it after that. Yeah, there's no need for it.
Hmm. Well, anything else you want to add?
80 soft. That's about it.
He was
Let's we can talk about 80 for a little bit.
go ahead, yeah.
Um, I don't know how you felt about it, but I know from personal experience when someone acts like that, when you just had your biggest accomplishment ever, when someone acts like that, there is some hate in their heart. And I mean, AD can play it off all he wants, but deep down inside, we everyone been on Earth. We know when someone's acting weird. Like we know when
Yeah.
someone's hating a little bit, and that's just what AD was doing. Like
What was
he
going
can
on?
say all
Why
he
would he
wants.
ever be upset at LeBron?
He can say all he wants. Like, oh, we are losing. It was the third quarter, and you were down by 6. You were losing.
Yeah.
That's why you was mad. Get out of here. You
And
wasn't
LeBron
mad
was
because of that. I think
and
they should
LeBron
have
was
traded
cooking
AD.
too.
Hot.
And
I
they should
mean, it
trade
might
him.
be
Well,
a
they
hot
can't trade
topic. They should have traded AD.
him off here.
He's injury prone. You can obviously see the chemistry's not there anymore. He was
Yeah.
being a hater. Like that was legit
It's so
hating.
sad.
That was
It's because
hating.
you remember that stretch earlier in the season when AD was averaging like 40 points per game and he was dropping like 50.
And now
So
he
like
got
AD has
13
so much
back to back.
potential, but he just can't stay on the floor. He
That's
got
it.
hurt after
And
that. That's what
AD's a
happened.
good player. AD
He's
is
so
he's a
good.
baller. When
One
he
of the
wants the
most
ball,
talented
he's a
players I've
baller.
ever watched in my entire life, but he just can't stay on the floor.
But you can tell his mind is not all the way there right now.
Yeah,
And I mean, I don't blame him. He's coming off a whole bunch of injuries, and he keeps getting
but
injured.
still, bro,
And you
you're
know
getting
they're
paid millions
losing.
of dollars.
And I think it really says a lot. Even if he'd have got up, yeah, Braun, like anything, he had no emotion towards Braun.
It's a
And I
bad
think
look.
that's the biggest. Yeah, that's the biggest thing. It's a bad look. If you right now hit the lottery, no, not hit the lottery, because that's money grabbing. But if you right now had a big accomplishment, like say we split this podcast, someone the Sports Center only signs you. I'm not gonna be a hater about it. I'm be like,
Yeah.
that's my man's. Like what? You signed $1 million contract. Give you your flowers. Like that don't. If this is supposed to be a main man, this is supposed to be a boy. You don't do that. You don't.
And
There should be no sign of hate in your heart, and that was a sign of hate. That
and
was
don't
clear.
forget
It was clear as
what
day.
and don't forget what LeBron has done for AD. Like AD has 0 championships right now. If it isn't for LeBron James, and that's not even a debate. LeBron
I
James,
won't even go about that though. Like that's not even. I won't
think about what
go
that
and
does
say
for
all
AD's
that.
legacy.
I mean, yeah, I won't go and say all that though. It's just a simple fact that everyone was celebrating. People on the other side were celebrating, and
And
you
I
weren't.
Yeah, and I get it. You're mad because you were losing to the Thunder. I was mad. I was thinking like this is the most 2023 Lakers thing to ever happen. The night LeBron James breaks the all-time record, they lose to the freaking Thunder. But like there are nights you're gonna lose, and I know the Lakers lose a lot, so I get it. It might be built up, but I don't think people understood. Like I know how much hype that accomplishment got for LeBron, but I still don't think it was to the magnitude it needed to be on. Like we may never see somebody break that record, not in our lifetime.
Yeah,
We're
that's
never
that's
gonna
as
see
simple
that
as it
again.
is.
It's not a stretch to say us people that watch that game will never see somebody break that record ever again. And yeah,
LeBron could honestly play at a decent level, 18 points per game, for the next 5 years if he wanted
He's
to.
averaging more than 18 a game. That's people keep saying like, oh, LeBron only has to average. Like, he's gonna if LeBron's in the league, he's gonna be averaging 25.
I mean, I'm just saying for the next, if he wanted to do it 5 more years, that's all. Like
He
he
could
could just average
easily
18,
average
18 and
25 for the
10,
next 2 years. He could average 25 for the next 2 years.
easy. But what I'm saying is the way he is, he can go and do that. Like, and I don't know. I just think that, man, even Draymond, like Draymond showing love, everyone showing love, everyone. I mean, people that hated LeBron, Pat Bev before the season, he was not a LeBron fan. I don't care what no one say. Pat Bev was not a LeBron fan. Pat Bev was showing love as soon as that happened.
Yeah.
Everyone was, and you're telling me
Even
you're
Russ was
supposed to
showing him
be
love, bro. Even Russ was happy.
even Russ, and you're telling and Russ knew he was gonna get traded,
Yeah.
and you're telling me
Yeah.
that you as the second best player, some before, if you didn't get injured so much, you'd be the first best player on this team. You were hating. It's just like and I don't like how Shaq hasn't spoke on it yet because Shaq was doing the same thing when everyone was giving Kobe his flowers.
Yeah.
Shaq was hating a little bit. Kobe went on many podcasts and said that like Shaq was mad that I was getting all these points and I wasn't giving him the ball and the media attention was on me. And I think that's exactly what's happening with AD. And I think Shaq even knows that. And I think that's why Shaq ain't say it. Like Shaq's like, that's exactly what I did. Like I know how he feels.
At least Shaq kind of earned it. Like Shaq was the Finals MVP. Like AD really hasn't. Like he's been
No,
a
I
top
won't
talented player.
disrespect
He's been an
AD.
MVP candidate. But Shaq
I
did
won't
way more than
disrespect
him.
AD.
We're not
I won't.
disrespecting AD. By saying
I,
Shaq
I
did more
won't
than
go
him,
that
we're not
far.
disrespecting AD. We just AD hasn't earned that right. If AD
Yeah.
legitimately thinks that way, he just has not earned that.
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing about AD is he can't stay in a conversation because he's always hurt. So you can't be mad about nothing because
And the
you're always
Lakers,
fucking hurt.
as much as the Lakers need LeBron to win, they need AD. LeBron can't win without AD, and it's not because LeBron's not good anymore. It's not because he's far. Obviously, he's not as he's older. But
Just imagine if like LeBron
The
went.
Lakers need AD to win, and AD hasn't been there, so he has no
Just
right to feel
imagine
that way.
like LeBron goes out his way and just like, I want to trade. Like I couldn't imagine the hate that he would get. But
Yeah,
just look at what's around him. Like AD, you can
we need
tell
to
he
give
doesn't really
we
want
need
to
to
be
give these
there.
new Lakers a chance. We need to give them a chance.
I mean, I can give him a chance, but just imagine he just goes and asks for a trade.
The
Like,
only the only problem with this Lakers, it might be too late because their record's so bad. Like if this Lakers team is starting, I mean, think about it. LeBron and AD stays healthy. LeBron, you have two legitimate superstars, and then you have D'Angelo Russell, and you have a lot of great supporting role players around them. If it were the beginning of the season if they were going into the season with these teams, I feel like they would be contenders for sure. But the season's coming to a close. They need to get
hey,
chemistry, and
you
the
you
thing
you hit
is,
a quick 10-game streak and
that's
you're
what
you're in
I was
you're in
literally
third
just about to
place.
say that. The Lakers are a 10-game streak away from being a top 3 seed in the West. So,
Yeah. And it's
but
it's literally that. Like
when you
they're
need
10 games
wins,
away.
you can't afford to, and it's so sad. Like they've lost 3 or 4 games this season that they could have won due to officiating or blowing the game or whatever. But when you need wins, you can't lose the Oklahoma City Thunder. LeBron, you can't sit out. AD can't be sitting out because of back soreness, bro. You cannot. You've missed way too many games.
Yeah, I mean LeBron sent out these last 2 games, man. That's corny too. We got to call out Braun when he's doing something corny, and
Yeah,
that's corny. Like he broke the record, and then he sat out the 2 games after that. I'm like, dude,
we'll see. We'll see what happens, man. Just, I mean, LeBron will always be our guy, but it's just he should be competing right now for championships, and it doesn't feel like that, and it's sad.
yeah.
Hmm. Well, anything else you want to add?
I think that's the end for it right there.
Pretty productive episode. Now that the NFL season's over, talk a bit more about the NBA. I have to start watching more. Talk about the
Yeah,
NFL
there
draft.
ain't nothing else to watch anymore, man.
Yeah,
Football's over. We're not going to watch baseball.
not
We'll
watching
watch
hockey.
basketball,
Hockey.
and we'll cover hockey when the Penguins get in the playoffs, and that's
The
about it.
Penguins aren't going to the playoffs. The Penguins suck, so
But
that won't
more
be
than
happening.
likely, what we're going to be doing here on this podcast pretty soon is we're
Lakers.
going to be debating goats of every
Yeah,
sport. We're gonna get into big hot topics. That's what we're gonna move on
Yeah.
since football is all over. We're gonna be talking more about Jordan versus Braun, Kobe versus who.
We want to get some
Who's our
guests on
top 10.
here. Yeah, we want to get some more
Yeah,
guests on here to do like,
we'll do our top 10. You give us 100 likes, and we'll debate about the top 10. We'll debate
yeah,
about it. And I mean, it'll be a hot debate.
more like
Top
4
10.
likes. If we get 4 likes, we'll debate the top 10. If we get 4,
Yeah.
I think we'll settle for 4. No,
Top
next episode,
10.
let's plan on that. We'll do a top 20 with top 10 NBA players.
Top 10 NBA players of all time.
All right, we'll start next episode with that. Let's do that. Let's bring it in and yeah, let's see.
And our list is all going to be different because there's players that are probably on my list that aren't on his list. And I mean, I know that 100%.
Let's not talk about it together. Let's not talk about it at all. Let's just come in
No,
blind and blind react.
no, yeah, we'll blind it.
All right. That's a bet then. All right. Well, like we said, hey, don't forget to enter the Chick-fil-A gift card giveaway.
Oh
100
yeah,
likes, 100 likes on the video. We're giving away a $20
it was
Chick-fil-A.
it was 1,000 likes. It was 1,000 likes.
Okay, 1,000 likes. We're giving away a $20 Chick-fil-A gift certificate. Valid
25.
through February 2024. So just make sure you hurry up and enter the contest. Thanks again for watching. As always, I'm your host Mario Damon. I'm joined by the great J Rod, and we'll see you hopefully next week. We'll see you next week. Thanks again for watching.